Ford is known for building icons, but hidden in its history are engines so flawed they became ticking time bombs. They promised strength, yet delivered breakdowns, lawsuits, and heartache for loyal owners. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the top 10 deadliest Ford engines ever made. Let's dive in. Top 1, 1.6L EcoBoost Sigma. When Ford unveiled the 1.6L EcoBoost Sigma in the early 2010, it was pitched as a compact turbocharged miracle. Found in the Fiesta ST and Focus, it promised V6-like punch in a small, efficient four-cylinder. It carried all the buzzwords: direct injection, turbocharging, and lightweight packaging. On paper, this was Ford's ticket into the modern era of downsized performance. At launch, buyers imagined spirited hatchbacks that could sip fuel while still delivering thrills. Numbers looked respectable too: over 170 horsepower in sporty trims, eager acceleration, and fuel ratings that hinted at everyday practicality. But beneath the spec sheet lay a time bomb. Its cooling system was undersized, pushing temperatures into the danger zone. Plastic coolant fittings warped under stress, spraying fluid directly onto red-hot exhaust manifolds. The result? Cars that didn't just fail, they caught fire. Recalls swept across continents, but even replacement parts couldn't fully prevent repeat disasters. By 2017, the Sigma's reputation had collapsed, overshadowed by lawsuits, buybacks, and an unnerving number of burned-out shells sitting in junkyards. Why did it matter so much? Because the 1.6L EcoBoost was aimed at young enthusiasts, the very people Ford hoped would fall in love with the brand. These drivers saved up, bought their dream hot hatch, and instead got stranded on highways, or worse, watched their cars ignite. It's not just that the engine was unreliable, it was dangerous, betraying the very excitement it promised. And yet, this engine remains unforgettable. It embodies how ambition without durability can backfire catastrophically. Collectors now view surviving Fiesta STs with suspicion, but also curiosity, a flawed icon of an era when downsizing went too far. If the 1.6L EcoBoost was the deadliest Ford engine, the next one proves that complexity alone can be just as destructive. Top 2, 2.7L EcoBoost Nano. When Ford launched the 2.7L EcoBoost V6, nicknamed Nano, it was hailed as proof that modern technology could deliver V8-level power in a smaller, more efficient package. Debuting in the mid-2010 F-150, it offered up to 325 horsepower and impressive torque, while sipping less fuel than traditional big blocks. On paper, it looked like the future of trucks: lighter, cleaner, and smarter. Owners imagined towing strength and everyday drivability combined in one neat twin-turbo package. But reality hit fast. The Nano's Achilles heel was its internal water pump, buried deep inside the engine and driven by the timing chain. When it failed, and failure was inevitable, it dumped coolant straight into the oil pan. The contaminated oil circulated everywhere, wiping out bearings, scarring cylinders, and killing turbos in one brutal cascade. By the time warning lights appeared, the engine was usually beyond saving. Replacement bills soared past $15,000, often higher than the value of the truck itself. Add to that carbon buildup on the intake valves, which choked airflow by 40,000 miles, and an oil pan made of plastic that cracked under daily stress. This engine was bleeding owners dry. For truck owners, trust is everything. They bought the 2.7L EcoBoost, believing it could tow, haul, and work like a traditional V8 while saving fuel. Instead, it left families stranded, businesses crippled, and thousands of trucks sitting in repair shops for weeks. Ford issued bulletins but stopped short of recalls, further souring loyalty. Yet this engine is unforgettable precisely because it symbolizes the dangers of over-engineering. Complexity promised efficiency but delivered financial ruin. The Nano remains a cautionary tale that newer doesn't always mean better. And if the 2.7L collapsed under its own design, the next Ford engine showed how sheer size could multiply problems just as brutally. Top 3, 5.4L Modular V8, 3-valve. The 5.4L Modular V8 debuted in the early 2000s, powering Ford's most important vehicles: the F-150, Expedition, and Navigator. It promised the best of both worlds: modern variable cam timing, improved fuel efficiency, and plenty of torque for work and family duty. With up to 320 horsepower, it looked like the dependable heart of Ford's truck empire. But under the hood, problems piled up quickly. The most infamous flaw was the spark plug design dot. Ford engineered awkward two-piece plugs that seized inside the aluminum heads. Removing them often meant snapping the plug in half, turning a routine job into a $2,000 repair. Then came the cam facers. They rattled loudly, wore down prematurely, and in many cases knocked the timing chain out of sync. The result? Pistons smashing valves and engines written off as scrap. Add in cracked cylinder heads and oiling issues, and this engine's promise collapsed. Truck owners rely on durability above all. Instead, the 5.4L became infamous for stranding families and draining wallets. Businesses lost valuable time as their workhorses sat in repair shops. Mechanics dreaded the jobs, knowing one misstep could escalate into catastrophic failure. And yet, that's why the 5.4L remains etched in memory. Millions of trucks carried it, making its flaws painfully visible across America. It wasn't just unreliable, it symbolized a moment when Ford's engineering gambles backfired spectacularly. The lesson was clear. Power numbers mean nothing if the foundation crumbles. And while this V8 rattled itself apart, Ford's smaller, turbocharged eco designs were about to show how even efficiency-minded engines could unleash disasters of their own. Top 4. 1L EcoBoost Fox. Ford's 1L EcoBoost Fox engine was introduced in the early 2010 as the company's futuristic solution for compact cars like the Fiesta and Focus. With 3 cylinders, direct injection, and a turbocharger, it promised V6 punch with hybrid-like efficiency. Marketing hailed it as an engineering breakthrough. Tiny, lightweight, and ideal for budget-friendly cars in crowded European cities, at launch it won multiple Engine of the Year awards, celebrated for squeezing surprising performance from just 1 liter of displacement. But the flaws emerged quickly. The cooling system was critically undersized. Plastic expansion tanks cracked from constant heat cycling, dumping coolant without warning. Engines overheated violently, often seizing before drivers could react. Worse, the wet timing belt, submerged in engine oil, deteriorated far earlier than expected. As it shredded, rubber particles clogged oil passages, starving bearings and scoring cylinder walls. By 50,000 miles, many cars were effectively doomed, with repair costs higher than the vehicle's value. Owners who wanted affordable efficiency instead found themselves battling breakdowns and recalls. Families relying on simple daily transport were stranded, while young buyers of sporty Fiesta STs watched their dream cars turn into liabilities. Ford issued recalls, but many replacement parts failed just as quickly, eroding trust further. Still, the 1L EcoBoost Fox remains unforgettable. It represents the danger of pushing downsizing too far, where technical ambition outpaced durability. Today, many examples are scrapped at shockingly low mileage, leaving a cautionary tale behind. Sometimes less truly is less. And if this tiny 3-cylinder burned Ford's reputation, the next engine on the list proved that even larger powerhouse diesels could collapse under their own weight. Top 5. 6L Power Stroke Diesel. In 2003, Ford unveiled the 6L Power Stroke Diesel for its Super Duty trucks, promising a cleaner, more advanced engine to replace the legendary 7.3L. On paper, it looked impressive: 325 horsepower, 560 pound-feet of torque, and modern emissions technology. Ford touted it as the future of heavy-duty hauling, capable of towing massive loads while meeting stricter environmental standards. Buyers lined up, believing they were getting a refined successor to one of the toughest diesels ever built. But almost immediately, flaws surfaced. The head gaskets couldn't withstand the immense combustion pressures. Stretching head bolts allowed leaks, blowing gaskets and warping heads. The EGR cooler clogged with soot, overheated and cracked, dumping coolant into the intake. The oil cooler also failed, mixing oil and coolant into a destructive sludge that wiped out bearings. Add in a fragile, high-pressure oil pump, erratic injectors, and sticky variable geometry turbochargers, and the 6 became a mechanic's jackpot. Repair costs soared, often exceeding $10,000, 0 cents, with some trucks needing multiple engine replacements under warranty. For truck owners, the 6L was a betrayal. Instead of a workhorse, it was a financial black hole. Businesses lost money as trucks sat in shops, and families towing campers or boats found themselves stranded. Lawsuits piled up and bulletproofing shops emerged, offering $10,000 0-cents upgrade packages just to keep the engine alive. Yet, its legacy remains unforgettable. The 6L Power Stroke is now infamous as one of the most problematic diesels ever built, a cautionary tale of rushing technology to market. And while it nearly destroyed Ford's diesel reputation, the next engine on the list proved that even smaller designs could unleash chaos in entirely new ways. Top 6, 1.5L EcoBoost Dragon. Launched in the mid-2010, Ford's 1.5L EcoBoost Dragon engine was designed to power crossovers like the Escape and Bronco Sport. Marketed as a fuel-sipping, high-tech three-cylinder with turbocharging, direct injection, and even cylinder deactivation, it promised economy without compromise. With output ranging from 179 to 181 horsepower, it looked like a small but capable engine for families needing efficiency and flexibility. Ford pitched it as proof that downsizing and technology could meet modern demands. Yet the cracks appeared quickly. The engine relied on a wet timing belt running inside the oil system. As the belt degraded, rubber particles clogged vital oil passages, starving bearings and scarring cylinder walls. Meanwhile, the integrated water pump, also belt-driven, leaked coolant directly into the crankcase when it failed, turning oil into a milky sludge. Failures could occur in as little as 30,000 miles, often requiring complete engine replacement. Add in complex hydraulics for cylinder deactivation and fragile electronics, and the Dragon turned into a nightmare of violent vibrations, overheating, and catastrophic breakdowns. For owners of Escapes and Bronco Sports, this engine was anything but economical. Instead of delivering years of reliable commuting, it left families facing multi-thousand-dollar repair bills and weeks without their cars. Mechanics reported that repairs were often more expensive than the vehicle's worth. Still, the 1.5L EcoBoost Dragon remains memorable because it shows how innovation can backfire. Clever on paper, it collapsed in practice, becoming another black mark in Ford's small engine strategy. And while this compact disaster betrayed those chasing efficiency, the next engine on the list proved that even once trusted V8s could rattle themselves into infamy. Top 7. Modular 4.6L Modular V8 3-valve. The 4.6L Modular V8 3-valve arrived in the mid-2000s as Ford's attempt to modernize its long-running modular engine family. It found homes in the F-150, Expedition, and Mustang, promising smoother performance, improved efficiency, and respectable numbers, up to 292 horsepower in some models. On paper, it offered buyers a balance between old-school V8 strength and new-age refinement. It seemed like the natural evolution of Ford's most widespread V8. But problems quickly tarnished its image. The spark plug design was its most infamous flaw. Ford used two-piece plugs that extended deep into the combustion chamber. During removal, they often broke, leaving pieces stuck in the head. A basic tune-up became a multi-thousand-dollar ordeal. Add in the notorious cam facers, which rattled at idle and failed prematurely, and the 4.6L became a source of dread. Timing chain slack worsened the situation, sometimes leading to catastrophic interference failures where pistons met valves. Carbon buildup also plagued the combustion chambers, causing detonation and rough operation even with premium fuel. For everyday truck owners, the 4.6L was supposed to be reliable. Instead, it delivered anxiety. Families hauling kids or workers relying on their F-150s faced sudden misfires, harsh rattles, and bills that sometimes matched the value of the truck itself. Yet the 4.6L remains etched in memory, not for its successes, but for how widely its problems spread. Millions of vehicles carried this flawed V8. It stands as proof that incremental updates can sometimes amplify weaknesses rather than solve them. And while the 4.6L rattled its way into infamy, Ford's push into smaller turbocharged engines would soon introduce a new chapter of headaches. Top 8. 2.3L EcoBoost. The 2.3L EcoBoost debuted in 2015 as part of Ford's push towards smaller turbocharged engines. It powered the Mustang, Ranger, and Explorer, promising an ideal mix, four-cylinder fuel economy with the punch of a traditional V6. With output ranging from 270 to over 350 horsepower, it looked like the perfect engine for a new generation of performance-minded buyers who still valued efficiency. Early reviews praised its responsiveness and broad torque curve, making it feel more muscular than its size suggested. But lurking beneath the numbers was a design that proved fragile. The open deck block allowed cylinder walls to flex under high boost, sometimes cracking without warning. Coolant would seep into the oil, and suddenly the engine was done, often well before 50,000 miles. The low-pressure fuel pump, mounted in the gas tank, added another trap. Run the tank low, and the pump overheated, starving the engine of fuel under boost. The result? Melted pistons and destroyed turbochargers. By 30,000 miles, some owners faced complete failures. Add in heavy carbon buildup on intake valves from direct injection, and maintenance costs ballooned. For Mustang buyers dreaming of affordable turbocharged thrills, or Ranger owners needing a dependable truck, the 2.3L often turned joy into dread. Walnut blasting, injector replacements, and even full rebuilds became part of ownership far too soon. And yet, the 2.3L EcoBoost is unforgettable. It represents how ambition, downsizing with high power output, can outpace durability. When it ran right, it was thrilling, but its fragility left scars on Ford's reputation. And while this four-cylinder struggled to balance power and reliability, the next entry on the list showed how even decades-old V6 designs could crumble under fundamental flaws. Top 9. 3.8L Essex V6. Introduced in the early 1980s, the 3.8L Essex V6 became one of Ford's most widely used engines, finding its way into everything from Mustangs to Windstar minivans. On paper, it offered a practical solution: compact size, decent fuel economy, and enough torque for family sedans and mid-size vehicles. At its peak, it produced around 193 horsepower, making it competitive for the era. Millions of drivers came to know this engine, and for a time, it seemed like a staple of Ford's lineup. But its fatal flaw was almost built in. The head gasket design simply wasn't strong enough to endure long-term combustion pressures. Failures often struck between 60,000 and 100,000 miles, unleashing catastrophic consequences. Coolant would flood into cylinders, leading to violent overheating and plumes of white smoke pouring from the exhaust. In worst cases, engines hydrolocked on startup, bending rods and destroying the bottom end. Repairs were grueling, as cramped engine bays made gasket replacements a mechanic's nightmare. Labor costs soared, often surpassing $2,000 even before factoring in parts. For families relying on Windstars or daily drivers depending on Mustangs, the Essex was less an engine and more a time bomb. Mechanics even built businesses specializing solely in 3.8L head gasket repairs. Ford quietly updated gasket designs over the years, but the problem never truly disappeared. Owners dreaded the inevitable failure, knowing it was a matter of when, not if. And that inevitability is what makes the 3.8L Essex unforgettable. It stands as a reminder that mass-market engines can still carry fatal flaws, leaving millions of vehicles tarnished. And while the Essex collapsed under weak gaskets, the final entry in this countdown proves how even modern diesels could drain wallets faster than they burned fuel. Top 10 6.4L Power Stroke Diesel. In 2008, Ford launched the 6.4L Power Stroke Diesel as the successor to the troubled 6L. Built to meet tougher emission standards, it introduced advanced features like twin sequential turbochargers and a diesel particulate filter. On paper, it looked like the answer to Ford's diesel woes, boasting 350 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque, plenty for heavy-duty towing. For a brief moment, truck buyers believed Ford had turned the corner. But reality struck almost immediately. The diesel particulate filter clogged constantly, forcing the truck into regeneration cycles that guzzled fuel, sometimes dropping mileage to an abysmal 8 miles per gallon. The high-pressure fuel system was notoriously fragile. Even microscopic contamination could destroy it, racking up repair bills over $10,000. The twin turbos, while powerful, often failed in pairs, adding thousands more to the cost. Meanwhile, EGR coolers cracked, radiator leaks spread coolant everywhere, and cylinder walls gave out far too soon. Trucks spent more time in shops than on highways, and owners quickly realized they were saddled with a financial nightmare. For Super Duty owners expecting reliability, the 6.4L became a symbol of betrayal. Farmers, contractors, and haulers who depended on their trucks faced weeks without them, and resale values collapsed. Many owners resorted to deleting emissions equipment just to keep their vehicles drivable. Yet the 6.4L Power Stroke is remembered not only for its failures, but also for how it forced Ford to pivot. Its short 2-year lifespan exposed the dangers of rushed engineering under regulatory pressure, and while the 6.4L buried trust in Ford diesels, it set the stage for the company's desperate attempt at redemption with the 6.7L Scorpion. Ford's history proves that not every engine is a legend. Some turned into disasters, draining wallets and breaking trust. They remind us how engineering mistakes can haunt millions of drivers. Have you ever owned one of these engines? And what was your worst experience? Share below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to follow Muscle Cars Revolution.